Sulistianto said, approaching the ASEAN Summit 2023 next September, South Korea stated its support to Indonesia as chairman of ASEAN by hosting several meetings.
Indonesia's ambassador to South Korea, Gandhi Sulistianto, said South Korea expressed its support to Indonesia as chairman of ASEAN Summit 2023 by hosting several meetings. Among others are official visits of President Joko Widodo and President Yoon Suk-yeol to discuss series of cooperation that will be conducted in the next few years.
And we have several activities, including to prepare the visiting of President Korea into Indonesia during the ASEAN Summit next September. So this all those things we've been preparing, from time to time to give some input to the two head of states how to make a project or event which is, as President Joko Widodo always in his mind, how to make deliverable project, not just only a common relationship only, but we should creating how to in the real things like what he did in the G20 in Bali last November.
Earlier, the Foreign Affairs Ministry as well as ambassadors of Indonesia and South Korea celebrated the 50th bilateral relations anniversary of Indonesia and South Korea with the hope to continue and enhance cooperations between both countries, especially in economy, human rights, and startup companies.
And here is the statement from Indonesian Foreign Minister Retno Marsudi regarding the ASEAN Summit 2023.
Pak, di tengah tantangan dunia yang semakin sulit ini, cara pandang positif, kerjasama, dan optimisme justru semakin diperlukan. Cara pandang inilah yang akan digunakan Indonesia dalam menjalankan keketuaan di ASEAN tahun ini. Indonesia ingin menjadikan ASEAN resilient dan menjadi barometer kerjasama yang dapat berkontribusi bagi perdamaian, stabilitas, dan kesejahteraan kawasan dan dunia. Dengan semangat ini, keketuaan ASEAN 2023 mengambil tema ASEAN Matters, Epicentrum of Growth. Dengan ASEAN Matters, Indonesia bertekad menjadikan ASEAN tetap penting dan relevan bagi rakyat ASEAN and beyond. Dalam kaitan ini, maka masa depan ASEAN harus mulai disiapkan untuk menyongsong ASEAN 2045. Sentralitas ASEAN harus diperkuat agar mampu menjaga perdamaian, stabilitas, kemakmuran di Asia Tenggara dan Indo-Pasifik. Kerjasama penanganan kejahatan lintas batas penting diperkuat, demikian juga dengan ASEAN Human Rights Dialogue. Melalui subtema Epicentrum of Growth, Indonesia bertekad untuk terus menjadikan Asia Tenggara sebagai pusat pertumbuhan ekonomi. The history and the story of ASEAN is always related to economy.
The Indo-Pacific region has a strategic value that attracts the attention of world superpowers, and it is the center of competition among them.
Indonesia's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Retno Marsudi, said in a press statement in Jakarta on Monday, the Indo-Pacific region has a strategic value. Minister Retno said collaboration paradigm is key to the development of the region, as it should be the center of collaboration instead of competition. Every dispute in the region should be settled through diplomatic means instead of wars. Minister Retno warned, though, if not handled through diplomatic means, such rivalries in the region may lead to an open conflict that may hurt peace, stability, and prosperity in the region. So there needs to be concerted efforts to prevent it from moving into an open conflict. ASEAN outlook on the Indo-Pacific, or AOIP, should play an important role in the four areas, namely maritime, sustainable development goals, or SDGs, connectivity, and economy.
At the annual press statement 2023 with a theme of leadership in a challenging world, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia addressed Indonesia's focus in 2023, one of which is about ASEAN. TVRI World reporter Shafira Junior has more.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia just finished its annual press statement that was delivered by the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, Retno Marsudi. In her address, Retno Marsudi said that Indonesia will have a priority to strengthen the ASEAN cooperation, one of which is about the economy. And joining us now is Director General for ASEAN Cooperation, Pak Arto. Good afternoon, Pak Arto.
Good afternoon. It's called the 5-point consensus, which was agreed upon by all ASEAN leaders and General Min Aung Hlaing on behalf of the Myanmar military. It's almost 2 years ago. A number of elements in it is an inclusive dialogue process among the Myanmaris, humanitarian assistance, and also efforts by the special envoy. So these are among the elements. Now on the first one, Indonesia as chair of ASEAN will continue to encourage a conversation, a dialogue among all the parties of Myanmar. And we on our part, we will also have that conversation with all the parties of Myanmar. It will be done throughout all existing platforms. We will establish avenues for such a conversation, such a diplomatic effort to bring or to promote a process that is inclusive. Ultimately, the resolution of the crisis in Myanmar has to involve all the parties. For Indonesia, this has to be a Myanmar-led, Myanmar-owned effort in which ASEAN plays a role in encouraging the process. So we will continue with those efforts, while at the same time we are quite cognizant that it is the Myanmar issue is complicated. There are various levels of this crisis. So we are not under any pretense that it can be resolved quickly. It will depend on the parties of Myanmar. We will encourage them to have a resolution as early as possible for the sake of the Myanmarese people, for the sake of regional stability. But we do not want the issue of Myanmar to also hold ASEAN hostage. ASEAN will continue with its effort to strengthen its community building efforts. ASEAN will continue with its effort as an epicentrum of growth, of economic growth. So we will continue with what is now the theme of this year, ASEAN Matters, Epicentrum of Growth. Settled by returning all the refugees to Myanmar. Those that are still in neighboring countries, the Myanmar's authorities would have to allow them back and now allow them to return in a dignified way and ensure that their rights as citizens of Myanmar are respected and promoted. In the meantime, Indonesia will cooperate with organizations like the UNHCR to ensure that the existing refugees, those that wish to be sent to receiving countries, could be done so in a dignified way and in a process that is expeditious and without delay.
Pak, ASEAN will be chaired by Indonesia in 2023, and there will be two summits on May and the second one held in September. What are the priorities that Indonesia brings to ASEAN in 2023?
A number of things. The first is that we want to strengthen the internal workings of ASEAN. We want to ensure that ASEAN is agile enough to address both issues in Southeast Asia as well as the broader region of the Indo-Pacific. We are undertaking a review of ASEAN's capacity and institutional effectiveness, and we hope that by the end of this year we can have an agreement in ASEAN on how to do so, the internal workings of ASEAN. We want to develop a common view about ASEAN vision for 2025, a 20 plus years vision, 2025, in which ASEAN by that time would be the third or fourth largest economic entity of the world, one that would play a critical role in the global economy. Even today, it's already the fourth largest economic entity, and we are working to develop that. So this gets into the second part of our team, which is epicentrum of growth. As Minister said, that the ASEAN story has always been about economic development. So we'll continue with our efforts on the RCEP, develop RCEP, establish its permanent secretariat, but also we'll have a number of focused area such as food security. We want to ensure that in the event the food situation worsens, that ASEAN is ready, ASEAN is equipped to deal with it, both through ASEAN itself and through its cooperation with its partners. We want to strengthen the energy transition. We want to ensure that the health architecture is further strengthened to ensure that in the event of another pandemic or another health emergency, that ASEAN is better able to deal, to address these matters, and also to strengthen financial stability through better use of local currency settlements.
Okay, Pak Arto, thank you so much for joining us now. And that was our interview with Director General for ASEAN Cooperation, Mr. Sidarto R. Suryodipuro. From the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, Safira Roy reporting for TVRI World.
And now to know more about the kickoff of the ASEAN Summit 2023 event, we will go to Sulawesi, TVRI World's reporter, who is now at the HI roundabout to tell us more about the preparation and the event. Hello Sulawesi, can you elaborate more on the event, please?
Hi there, Siska. I'm currently here at Bundaran HI in central Jakarta, and yes, we're still waiting for the event to be commenced, and shortly we will witness the kick-off of ASEAN or Indonesian Chairmanship of ASEAN this year, 2023, and I'd like to take you to see a glimpse of a current situation here at Bundaran HI to Bundaran HI here in Central Jakarta. Siska, back to you now, Siska.
All right, thank you Zulhafiz Tadore of TVRI World, who is joining the crowd at the historic Bundaran HI for the kickoff of the ASEAN Summit 2023. Looks like the crowd are really excited to be there. I can sense the high energy, and I hope you can also enjoy the event and maybe join the CFD right after. Thank you, Zulhafiz, for that live report. Okay, now to talk more about the Indonesian chairmanship of ASEAN in 2023 and of the impacts to the world and for Indonesia itself, we now have a very special guest in the studio with us to talk more about this issue. We have Professor Alexius Jemadu, PhD, Professor of International Politics of the University of Pelita Harapan. Good morning, Prof. Alex. Thank you so much for being here on a Sunday morning. We truly appreciate your time for being here.
Pleasure.
And of course, we're very excited to pick your brain a bit about the ASEAN chairmanship by Indonesia, who's going to be kicked off any moment now. Now, before we go into details, maybe you can tell us first, in general, in a nutshell, how do you see the appointment of Indonesia as chairman of ASEAN this year?
Yeah, I think it's a good opportunity for Indonesia to demonstrate and substantiate its international leadership in this region, Southeast Asia, for the sake of four important things. First of all, this is an opportunity for Indonesia to, together with other ASEAN countries, to maintain the momentum of economic growth as we are trying to recover from the current pandemic crisis. And the second thing is Indonesia's chairmanship in ASEAN is important for the sake of regional stability in Southeast Asia. Because without regional stability, we cannot develop our economy. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is that Indonesia's chairmanship will be used to encourage and to promote people-to-people interactions in Southeast Asia for tourism, for economic activities, for investment, for trade, and that way you can create an accumulated effect of economic growth, and then we can quicken our recovery from the pandemic crisis. And last but not least is how to find a permanent solution to the political crisis in Myanmar, where so many people suffer because of the political crisis, and ASEAN wants to demonstrate its ability to resolve this problem under Indonesia's chairmanship.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Alex. Already you've given us these 4 points, which will be most likely the focus for Indonesia as it holds the ASEAN chairmanship. But before we go into more details about those 4 points, maybe you can also tell us what your opinion about what the international world is saying about Indonesia's role and of ASEAN itself. Now, Indonesia takes up the bloc's rotating chairmanship at a time when its centrality and efficacy of ASEAN is being called into question. How do you think is ASEAN current effectiveness in asserting influence and to protect its interest in regional?
Yeah, you're right that ASEAN now is under the spotlight of the international community because of the political crisis in Myanmar. But I believe that Indonesia's chairmanship is going to produce a good result this year, by which they will invite the junta leader in Myanmar to open the door for dialogue with the opposition group in Myanmar itself. Not for the sake of other countries, but for the sake of Myanmar people themselves. So Indonesia is in the position to offer a good thing for them, to find solution, to promote dialogue, because it's not good that the people of Myanmar live under this political crisis where other countries try their best to recover from the pandemic crisis. So
Yes.
this is very important, and we very much hope that under Indonesia's chairmanship, this political solution to the crisis can be formulated and will be accepted by the junta leader in Myanmar itself.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. Alex, for that passionate answer. I think we all also share the same belief and hope that Indonesia can take swift action into providing solutions for
That's
this
true.
ongoing crisis in Myanmar. I would love to ask
Yeah.
more questions actually about that topic, because it is going to be a hot topic indeed for Indonesia during the chairmanship.
Right.
But I hear that another guest is already joining us. Maybe we can say hello and good morning to the guest who is here. Hello, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. My pleasure. Thank you, sir.
I truly appreciate it because it's Sunday morning, so of course your time here is very much appreciated. And I was just talking to Prof. Alex here about how Indonesia is now seen by the international world, especially as it holds now the chairmanship for ASEAN. And as Prof. Alex already eloquently explained about the four main focus for Indonesia: economic growth, regional stability, to promote people-to-people interaction, and of course there is that hot issue about the conflict in Myanmar. What do you think of this?
First of all, I think this year
see that everything is cleared up.
Yeah. You can see how the president smiles.
Yes, looks very relaxed.
Relaxed. Yeah.
Okay, he's now approaching the stage.
Yeah. So it gives much hope for the people.
Yeah.
That we can do our best to recover from the pandemic crisis that we are now trying to
Okay.
do our best. Yeah.
Now we're going to go back to the HI roundabout when the president will start his speech. But for now, we'd like to go back to our guests, Prof. Alex and Ms. Ayu Rahman is still here with us. Now, Prof. Alex, at the beginning of our talk, you mentioned about Indonesia's success in the G20. I would love to go even deeper on that. But I just hear that there's going to be a press conference. We're going to go there now just to make sure we don't miss anything that the president has got to say. Let's have a look. official. Indonesia's chairmanship of ASEAN in 2023 has officially begun. The president himself just kicked off at the kickoff event at the historical Bundaran HI. And of course, all of us are very excited indeed to see how Indonesia will treat this new role and how Indonesia will come up with solutions, of course, to overcome the challenges. But before that, I would love to continue my question to Ms. Ayu Rahman. As I was saying, Indonesia, we could say, is riding high on its success as G20 president in 2022. You know, despite we had major obstacles in the presidency, including the still ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine, the global economic instability caused by COVID-19 pandemic, but Indonesia hosted a successful summit that launched a 1.4 billion pandemic fund to support low and middle income countries to tackle future global health threats. Just to say a few of the success that Indonesia did during the G20 presidency. Now, do you view Indonesia's G20 success can be like a boost to our likelihood to succeed in ASEAN chairmanship, or do you think this is a whole new game altogether?
Thank you for the questions. I believe it's the coin by Indonesia. I believe there must be a certain level of expectation
there, the experience and also all our credentials, not only in hosting this very important summit, but also we have demonstrated to the world that inside the country we have produced a good result in terms of economic growth, the way we control this pandemic, and this is a foundation of our self-confidence to demonstrate this international leadership now in Southeast Asia. And
Very well, Prof. We're just going to go to the HI roundabout again to see how is the condition there after President Joko Widodo has officially kicked off the ASEAN Summit. While we have that, please continue. You were saying that Indonesia indeed has the needed credentials and political clout to actually do some solid good during the chairmanship of ASEAN.
That's true. Because you see that the external circumstances, when we were the leader of president of G20 and 2023, more or less the same.
Yeah.
So we are facing the same uncertainties, war in Ukraine and political crisis in Myanmar, but we have the ability to go through this process with great success, with all the concrete deliverables that Minister Retno has mentioned in her annual press release. So it's clear, and that's why we need to support our government, our president, our Minister of Foreign Affairs, so that they can do their best in reproducing this success with other ASEAN countries, and the world will see that ASEAN can be a source of hope for economic growth, which is in line with the theme of our chairmanship. ASEAN matters, epicenter of growth. So it's a very good theme, and we really hope that all ASEAN leaders will support Indonesia's chairmanship to produce even more, for the sake of our people in Southeast Asia.
Thank you for your optimistic views, Prof. Alex. Ms. Ayu Rahman, if you're still with us, I would love to hear your opinion also about the theme of ASEAN. Professor Alex just mentioned ASEAN matters, the epicenter of growth. Now, the first line, ASEAN matters, it seems like there's a message that we want to send out to the world that this region do matter. We have a lot of potential to contribute to the world. And even President Joko Widodo also mentioned in his opening speech previously that ASEAN is still relevant. What do you think is the meaning of this continuous message that we are sending?